Hello, church, and welcome back. I am so glad that you are here today. What a blessing it is to be with you on this journey as we walk with Jesus toward the cross, as we walk with each other toward Easter. It is Holy Week, and what a blessing it is to be with you in this way as we dive into Scripture and see what God has in store for our lives today. Welcome. Today is Maundy Thursday. Maundy Thursday. And Maundy is a strange word, and it's hard to remember. It's especially confusing for children, and this week as we talked about it with our children, they sprang the question, what does Maundy mean? Oh, I look it up every year and I can never remember it. And so today we're going to talk about that. How are we going to remember what is Maundy? Well, it's slang. And so let's get to that. It comes from the word mandatum in Latin, or mandate, as you might know it. Mandate is a command, and when we look at the root of Maundy, it's Anglo-French, and so give it some accent and make it slang. Like, the boss is being very commandy. Oh, he's being so commandy. It's Maundy Thursday. It is the day of the commandment, the greatest commandment. It's so Maundy. It's so commandy. It's Commandment Thursday. As my kids asked that, and I had to go look it up again, I think they'll remember it now, and I know I will, and I hope you do too. So, welcome to Maundy Thursday, when we look at the great commandment. Commandment Thursday. What is the commandment? Love one another. Love one another. Love one another. From John 13:34 and 35. A new commandment I give you. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know you are my disciples if you love one another. 3 times in 2 sentences. I love it. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know you are my disciples if you love one another. Love one another. That's the commandment. And it's profound beyond our understanding, because it's so impossible to perfect. But Jesus doesn't just give us the commandment and let us be. He doesn't just say, go do this, and let us flounder in it. He gives us true life example of what this new kingdom looks like on earth. What it means for us to truly love one another in this world, and to show who it is we follow. When you've allowed yourself to be submitted to the kingdom structure, when you have allowed yourself to call Jesus Master, you become servant. You become a follower. You become a disciple. And so if you are truly a follower of Jesus, you want that to be seen. You want that to be known. That is your status. And he tells us, it is by this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another, as I have loved you. And so if you look a little bit earlier in this same story, it is Passover. It is the day they've gathered to celebrate the Passover and celebrate the Seder meal, where all the elements of the dinner that they're sharing have deep and powerful meanings to their history and to our history and to God's history of interacting with people. And every element in that meal is shared. And it's discussed. And it's lifted up. All the great ways God has walked with us in this world. But during that meal, Jesus gets up and changes everything around. And I want to share that with you today. From John chapter 13 as well. We'll start with, we'll just start right at the beginning of chapter 13. It was just before the Passover feast. Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave this world and to go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he now showed them the full extent of his love. The evening meal was being served, and the devil had already prompted Judas Iscariot, son of Simon, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God, and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, and took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that he poured water into a basin, and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I'm doing, but later you will understand." "No," said Peter, "you shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." "Then, Lord," Simon Peter replied, "not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Jesus answered, "A person who has had a bath needs only to wash his feet. His whole body is clean, and you are clean, though not every one of you." For he knew who was going to betray him, and that was why he had said not everyone was clean. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. "Do you understand what I've done for you?" he asked them. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. I tell you the truth. No servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." You will be blessed if you do them. If you do this great commandment of loving one another. But what is so difficult here? What is so impossible to wrap our heads around, and what was impossible for the disciples to wrap their head around, was the societal structure that Jesus was in direct opposition to in this moment. You see, a servant must submit to his master. A disciple must follow his teacher's commandments. If a servant does not serve those who outrank him or outclass him, he's bringing shame on himself and further lowering his own status, but he's also bringing shame upon his master. He's giving his master a bad name if he is seen to not be following the rules of the status or class. What's more, though, is to allow the master to do the serving, the washing, would bring shame on the whole outfit. The master and the servants would be out of line, and that would be complete shame, complete loss of status for the whole collective. They would lose all of their rank, all of their status, all of their namesake. It would all be in shame. if they switch these roles around. And that's what Jesus is proposing. What he is proposing would completely negate their status and their master's status. And that's what's so impossible for Peter to understand. It's what's hard for us to understand. That Jesus, if Jesus is master, we should only be in service to the master. And anything else would feel shameful. And in their time, shame and status is what matters. That is the currency of the day. And yet, the master commands it. What a conundrum we find ourselves in. The master we are to serve is commanding that we allow the master to serve us and then go do likewise to all people, regardless of their status. This new commandment to love all, to serve all, without regard for the civil structure or for any societal mandate. The new mandate, the new commandment, is a new kingdom structure where you, the follower of the one who laid his whole life down, lay your whole life down for the wellness of others, for the uplifting of others, regardless of their civil status, regardless of who they are. Your willingness to lay your whole life down, to lay your status down in servitude, is the sign of the new kingdom. It is the structure of the new kingdom. It is the commandment. It's so commandy. It's so difficult. But you are blessed by it. You are made whole by it. You find joy that you can't describe by following this new commandment to love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. Be blessed and be a blessing. Amen.